What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka Ferst Report, and it is Saturday. That means it is time to wrap up the week and a show that, look, you've heard of two peas in a pod, right? Well, guess what? We're two bees on a pod. My name is Brandon Ferst, obviously. We got Brandon Luipian as my co-host, wrapping up the week that was. How are you doing today, Coach Luipian?
Good morning, Be First. It's fun to be back. As I reiterated last Saturday, how much I enjoy the show and a lot to talk about locally. It's going to be good times, you know. So I enjoy this early morning podcast, and that's a great line. We're not just two peas in a pod, but we're two bees on a pod.
It's perfect, you know. Like, in so many ways you can go, very much so. And I know we do probably have maybe a couple new listeners who aren't quite familiar. Look, we're Southern California kids. We're kid here. I have 2016 California Junior College Coach of the Year, Brandon Luipian. So we definitely know what we're talking about. We're definitely bringing it to you from a West Coast flair. We are full believers in the East Coast bias. It is real. But also because of that, look, when you live in San Diego, you got to find other football teams to cheer for, because guess what? We don't have a football team. And if you wanted to follow that team up north, feel free. Good for you. A lot of people didn't. Neither of us did. I don't think we were ever really too big to begin with. But myself, Brandon Luipian, big-time football fans. Brandon Luipian, massive Saints expert. I am a massive Eagles expert. So we'll give you a little bit of a rundown of what last week and what we got going on this week. We'll start with you, Coach Luipian, and your New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, the Saints are my squad, and we're not looking too good, but we're in a position where it's pretty familiar over the last 3 or 4 years. We're sitting at 1-2. The last time the Saints were sitting at a 2-0 or a 2-1 positive record going into week 4, probably back in 2013. So it's not something that is uncommon, and it's been typical the last 4 years of Sean Payton's team, where out of the gates, we're just not there. Last season, going into the LA Rams game, I mean, no one expected Drew Brees to exit the game as soon as he did with that injury. And then Teddy B comes in, and now we're sitting at 1-2, literally. And then we reel off 5 straight with Teddy as the starter. So looking forward, we have the Lions this weekend. Both teams are 1-2, and I think the most concerning thing for me is the number of injuries to the skill players. Skill players meaning Michael Thomas. This is going to be his 3rd game missing after week 1 on a play that was like the last play of the game in week 1, and he gets rolled over and twists his ankle. So this is the 4th week, and they're taking them extra slow, extra precautious. I have a feeling they're hoping that some of the chemistry Brees and Emmanuel Sanders developed during that Green Bay game is going to come out a little bit more against Matt Patricia and his Lions. So I know your sentiments about Matt Patricia, but from week 1 till now, I thought the Lions are improved. They're kind of at that cusp I've seen, and they're just failing at the end, which that's been their theme. But at what point are they going to make that jump or that hurdle? And now that Matthew Stafford is back, unlike last year, where they were kind of rotating quarterbacks, this could be that game that actually pushes them over the edge with all the injuries that the Saints have, Mike Thomas being one. Marcus Davenport, I mean, we traded major picks for him a couple years back to scoot up in the draft. He hasn't been around, out with an elbow injury this time. There's a couple old linemen. Andrews Pete got banged up last week against the Packers. So there's a lot of injuries hanging around the facility. Everyone's complaining that Drew Brees can't throw the long ball. There's a weapons threat. that just isn't being exposed. Jared Cook, our top tight end, is out hurt. So, when it comes down to it, the defense has been on the field way too long. There is no pass rush, so the DBs can't settle in and cover their wide receivers soon enough. Marshawn Lattimore are out. Janoris Jenkins are out. Who are we going with in the backfield or in the secondary? I mean, so there's a lot of concern going into this game. And again, I'm not so hard on the Lions because of what I think I see in them. And it's just one of those times where they just kind of have to mature and get over that hump. And this could be that game. And it's scary because as a longtime Padres fan, they always seem to be that team that gets no hit, or Pete Rose gets the hit record, or someone clinches against the Padres, or something happened. I have that same feeling right now this week for that Saints and Lions game. This could be that hurdle for the Lions to just get over the top because of our injuries. I mean, yeah, we're deep and all, but at what point does that start to break down? Week 4, no preseason. Everyone's didn't come into the season as in shape as you would like because of the lack of preseason, the lack of OTAs and whatnot. And we're all kind of reeling at it. So this is a make or break game for me, just because I'd rather 2-2 looks like 2-2 looks a lot better than 1-3. Tampa Bay's seem to catch their wind after week 1, and they're looking impressive. Tom Brady's slinging that ball around. So we need to stay ahead of the game, ahead of them in the division, and go from there. But, along the lines, I'm feeling you about your Eagles. What's up?
I mean, if you are that negative about the Saints, I mean, I feel like I just have to just do Harry Carey on this podcast right now. I mean, it is as bad as it's gotten. I do vividly remember before the Super Bowl started, just, with God or the football gods or whoever is listening or not, saying, look, if you give me this one, I don't care what you do. I don't care. That was a lie. That was this is not good right now. I know it's the phrase tying is like kissing your sister. I've never had a sister.
No, I don't know
but
about that.
it's an odd analogy to me. That you would know what that's like. But anyways, in terms of the tie, we had both teams had a possession in overtime, and our friend, the Pope of Craig Mizrak, our great Bengals insider that we know through other means. I had texted him right after both teams had a possession. I said, this game has tie written all over it. And about 4 hours later, he's like, wow, you really called that beforehand. And you could just tell from the beginning, the best case scenario for the Eagles was going to be a tie in that situation. Of course, as a bettor, I like to bet against my team so that if they do lose, at least I made a little bit of money. Last week was a little bit of a kick in the midsection for me. So I had Cincinnati +6. That's fine. We hit that. I also had the over, and I also had the Bengals money line. So we had Bengals money line, didn't hit that. Okay, that's unfortunate. But the over 47 was devastating. It was 23-23 in overtime. All I needed was give me a safety. Give me a safety and we get an over. But no, they go the entire overtime period. No one scores. I don't hit my over either. It was a rough day. And for the Eagles, if you've listened to me in the past talk about the Eagles, I am probably number one Carson Wentz fan. I will fight for him, or, I don't know. I'm getting towards the end of my
Not lately.
Not lately. It's still a small sample size. It still is a small sample size, but what I've seen has not been good enough decision making, throwing the ball. I mean, just all the things. And there are times where, look, the ball gets tipped at the line, bad luck, blah, 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 things like that. But you go back, the Eagles up, I think they were up 17-0 on Washington. I mean, getting ready, I was getting ready to think about, when am I turning red zone on? This game is going to be a blowout. Carson Wentz throws an interception. Since then, this offense, I mean, he leads the league in turnovers. Mm-hmm. They really probably got lucky that it was Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is going to be really, really good, but he bailed out the Eagles plenty of times. But the biggest thing for me, I go back to that last play, or what should have been the last play, was the field goal. You line up for about 54-yard field goal, not a gimme. Josh Elliott has made it in the past, has made them in the past, but just because you've made one doesn't mean you're always going to make them. And false start. I mean, how? I've never played football, and I've definitely never been on the offensive line. If you've seen me, you know I'm more of a kicker, punter body type if I'm playing football. But I gotta feel, man, those special teams coaches, they tell you you can do whatever you want. Just don't jump early, or don't get that false start.
Watch the ball. Watch the ball.
It's unbelievable. And we saw a bit of it. Obviously, look, with the Packers, Aaron Rodgers in a silent stadium. We might need to get the competition committee figuring something out like yesterday, because that might be devastating. He had everybody jumping at all times. But I digress. Back to the Eagles and the mistakes that just not there. And I would love to have like specifics, but there's just so many, and it's so difficult. I'm not that much of a masochist to go back and watch that game again. It's kind of like those coaches, like, no, we threw the tape away. Like, we're not watching. Like, no, I'm not. I usually go back later that night and watch kind of a condensed game of it. I didn't do that for that. It was just terrible. They should have lost that game. 0-15-1. I don't know if 0-15-1 sounds better than 0-16.
So are you guys tanking for Teddy?
I mean, if doing the Jets, Trevor Lawrence, my goodness, that would be incredible. But the thing is, when it's all said and done, all the joking and all that stuff aside, pull the standings out, we're a half game back. Haven't played the Cowboys yet. I mean, haven't played the Giants yet. Haven't played the Redskins at home yet. So while it's not exactly, rainbows and kittens over here, it's definitely not like, okay, our season's over. If you look at how the Eagles have performed under Peterson outside of that Super Bowl year, we've been slow starters, period. It's been slow starts. Now, this is a bit dramatic and a bit ridiculous, but once again, we're always seem to be 7-8, but somehow all you got to do is win and you'll make the playoffs. They're always there. So while, yes, I'm worried, the Niners this week, obviously, Sunday Night Football. Call me crazy, but I think this is perfect for the Eagles.
This is the one.
This is a perfect game for them, and not because the Eagles are better than the Niners or this that. It's because the Niners are beaten to hell. Yeah. The Niners are a beaten up team. I don't wish harm or injuries upon anybody, but it's gonna work out for the Eagles, I believe, this week. Now, am I confident? No, because you have to deal with yourself. Don't matter who's on the other field. If they don't step themselves up, they're going to get blown out no matter what, because the Niners, look, those are still professionals over there. But this is an opportunity to go out and make a statement to the NFL that, hey, you know what? Yeah, we tied with the Bengals last week, but you know what? We came out and we got the job done against an underwhelming Niners team, but we got the job done. I will say, it's a sick joke at this point for Eagles fans, but I've never seen a team on Wednesday or Thursday have one wide receiver practice. One. I mean, I can't fathom it. I can't fathom how you can only have one wide receiver practicing. I would have to assume it's Greg Ward, because it's Greg Ward is always, like, he is now our number one wide receiver just because he's always on the field. It blows my mind, but I'm trying to stay positive because I really do think this is an opportunity. If the Eagles are going to right the ship, this is it, because, look, you got Niners, Steelers, Ravens coming up. I mean, It's not going to get any easier.
That's
But at the
tough.
same time, if you want to, if you want to win the East, if you want to get back to that mountaintop, you got to do it anyway. It all has to start this weekend, though. If they lose this weekend, I mean, it's not like the end of the world, but it's going to get the birds not on the field, but out in the stands, really getting ready to roll.
Right.
But
Right.
so,
Well, respect to both of our teams that are in those positions that are struggling. My sentiments exact. I'm not as confident with my guys right now. And just like yourself, you're not as confident with your guys just right now. Week 4, right? This is everyone's preseason, getting ready for game 1. Hopefully that's kind of like the approach. But consistently, both teams, slow starting teams.
definitely.
And at the end of the day, or end of the season, we'll see where the chips are. Moving forward, a lot of excitement in town, a lot of excitement in Southern California for what's immediately ahead. Unfortunately, it's out of our own state. It's going to happen in Texas, Arlington, Texas, home of the Rangers, Dodgers, Padres, moving forward. But let's talk about game 1 of this series against St. Louis. And before I give it to you, I was on the road and I heard this. I was listening to the radio station, and this caller said it to the T. Of any of the teams he didn't want to see, first round, it was the Cardinals. Not because of their record, not because of the lack of their offense, not because of their pitching staff, but more so because of, quote unquote, the Cardinal way. And wow, like, I thought I knew what the Cardinal way was in seasons past, but being under the microscope at the playoffs, 2020, the magnitude, no fans, whatever, I really got to see an in-depth look and I have a hard found really appreciation of what I think the Cardinals way is. Hustle, hard-nosed defense, aggressive pitching, moving the next guy over, doing all those little things that I always believed add to one big thing. They took our Padres, who finished, 4th seed in the National League, took them to game 3 of this playoff series. And game 1, they put a little pressure on the Padres to really sit back and reevaluate and reanalyze the joy of this game, because they didn't look very happy at game 1. And yeah.
In game 1, I'm glad you brought up like the Cardinal way, because I was really frustrated. Obviously, game 1, Chris Paddock struggled again. Oh man, there are a lot of people who maybe don't like my takes on Chris Paddock because I say it a lot. I wish Chris Paddock was half as good as he thinks he is.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not knocking. All these players have to be cocky. All these guys have reached the plateau or the mountaintop of their profession. Now, you're gonna walk around with a bolo tie and a cowboy hat. You better show up in the big games, and he has yet to do that. I went back and I watched after the fact. The pitches he made and got hurt on weren't terrible. I really expected to go back and see just first pitch fastballs right down the middle. Goldschmidt's home run that started it off was probably a ball. Now, don't get me wrong. You don't want to throw a fastball in to Paul Goldschmidt. I understand that, but not a meatball here. There were a couple others. I don't know why. Tommy Edman and Colton Wall, all those guys, I get them all mixed up because it seems like they're all about 5'8", 5'9", just scrappy little hitters. But there were about 3 or 4 of those at-bats where you just see them just throw the bat head at the ball, and they just beat the shift. And you know what? The biggest thing for the Padres on game 1, obviously pitching big time, but the lack of hits, abilities to cash in on those runners in scoring position. The Padres were in that game pretty much the entirety of it, but it didn't feel like it because every time they came up, it seemed like, somehow, some way they are going to get out of that. And it really continued until the 6th inning of game 2 when, I mean, the greatest thing to happen to San Diego ever, and that is including Ron Burgundy, is Fernando Tatis Jr. hit that 3-run home run and just stared into it was, we've all seen Fernando Tatis's home runs, and he gets in the dugout and he dances and does all these things. Go back and watch when he got in there. He didn't do shit.
Like that.
Yep. Put his helmet away. They're all looking at him. He won't look at anybody. He isn't dancing. We're down 1. We're about to get eliminated. He's not dancing. Yep. That's what I love to see. And then obviously, look, Manny Machado. It's immediate. I have never seen a successful team be led and be driven by a 21-year-old. Now, it'd be different if we're talking about maybe the Marlins, who are a very young team, not knocking them, but very young team. Yeah. The Padres have veterans like Mitch Moreland, Eric Hosmer, Manny Machado.
Acting like kids.
You know who everyone's looking at when shit hits the fan? The kid.
Yeah.
The kid. I can't even obviously last night, bullpen game against Jack Flaherty. I give him zero chance. I mean, I was when they announced Stammen, I was beside myself. You saw the and I was wrong. I sent an apology. I sent an apology to Craig Stammen. He was absolutely incredible. Every single one of those pitchers. They didn't even have to use Garrett Richards. I don't know what's going on there. That's another story, but that's weird. Unbelievable. My hat goes off to those guys. It's as a Padre fan, as a diehard Padre fan. You know, I was emotional last night. It was, like I said, it was 22 years since, you know, we won that National League Championship Series against the Braves. And I know, obviously, look, I had tickets to Game 5 of the World Series. You don't have to tell me we got swept as a 10-year-old. That was a heartbreaking experience. But 22 years of trading away your best players. 22 years of the only time the Padres being relevant is when Tony Gwynn passes. It's just – like I felt like last night for Padre fans and all of the city of San Diego, it was an exhale. But it's also a situation where we exhale, we wake up this morning and we go, oh, it's the Dodgers. Because that's the next thing. It's now the Dodgers. And as happy as I am for this team, God, I want them to beat them so badly. And I will say this. I'm not going to make a prediction just yet, but I will say this. A 5-game series, the Padres have a much better chance in a 5-game series than a 7-game series. And I completely understand that our pitching needs to get figured out. I know they were great last night, but we need to get a healthy arm or two. I had kind of given up on Clevenger. I'm hoping Lamet can give us one. Maybe if he has to start game 3 to give him an extra. I'm not sure. And I still don't even know that the roster rules. I feel like I'm getting 3 different explanations from 3 different people. So I don't really know exactly. But obviously Preller and the people in charge do. But I'm so excited for this Dodger series. I think until it starts, and then I'm going to be in the fetal position for 3 or 4 or 5 days.
So the way I'm looking at it is if the progression of a team, you mentioned I'm a coach, right? The progression of the team throughout this season, confidence-wise, playability-wise, enjoyment-wise, relaxation-wise, versus the Dodgers. That last series, right, where the Dodgers took it to them after that game 1. You kind of hope that's a learning experience as far as, okay, boys, you got us game 1, but this is what a championship team does game 2 and 3. So far, this team has been able to progress week by week, adjusting to those lessons rather quickly and having to rather quickly in a 60-game schedule. The way I look at it right now, and I've seen it this way since game 1. I look back to Tatis's Dominican winter ball campaign a couple of years ago, where he was the number 2 prospect in all of Major League Baseball. He was the Padres' number 1 prospect. And the talks of him going into his first spring training with the Padres was there. He needed some exposure, some experience leading into that spring training. And what does he do? He puts together the most magical Dominican League season, because that's all we ever heard locally was what the kid is doing with that team that has a couple other Padres prospects on it. But it's all about him and his game-winning home runs, his series-clinching home runs, what he's doing, and it kind of transitions into the season. So with Jace Tingler, has a strong Dominican background as far as his managerial skills. We actually plucked him from mid-season upon hiring him. And that team, his Dominican team, was leading their division. And it's more of a race at that point in those shortened winter seasons. That's how I looked. My approach to this season was. And these guys, from the beginning of opening day till now, they're racing, and they're racing hard, and they're having fun, and they're in a situation where the kid is leading by example. He's led by example all season long, don't get me wrong, but right now, like you mentioned, he's not dancing. He's got that laser-like focus, like, boys, you know what? Clinch up the laces a little bit tighter, and we're in a playoff run. Unfortunately, our pitching is what it is, and you know what? Since game 1, we've spoken about this before, or since game 1 of the season, we've spoken about this before, as far as the expanded rosters, the reduced rosters, whatever roster is going to be out there. It seems like it's changed throughout because of having to deal with double headers and health of players and whatnot. So things seem to have changed. So who knows? Hopefully there's an arm down there that we could bring up from the taxi squad. And I'm not saying Gore, because they would have to drop someone from the 40-man, but maybe there's an arm that was there that is just healthy enough, Sorry, kid,
And that's another thing too, is the health. I mean, because we are in a situation where it's almost like you leave it all on the field. And I do apologize for looking down. I just want to confirm some breaking news.
Oh no. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I can't confirm it yet, so I'm not going to pass it along just yet. But
is it there no check mark?
Is there no, it was not. I'm looking for a blue check mark. That's what I was looking for. But will I give it a couple minutes for the blue check mark to maybe confirm nor deny? But with the Padres, their pitching, from where I expected it to be, has been a lot better. I did not have high hopes for Zach Davies. He has been amazing, and I know game 2 did not look great, but I expect, look, that was start, I think, number 13 for him. It's the first time he's allowed runs in back-to-back innings. Mm-hmm. That happens. It's unfortunate it came at that time. I wonder if they are ready to fully give Luis Patino a chance to start a baseball game. I was very impressed with what I saw with him last night. I thought that moment was too big for him. Honestly, when they brought him in the 6th inning, they went up 1-0, and they were asking Luis Patino to be the guy to put the 0 in. I thought it was too. I literally texted my mom, who I just text because I'm just nervous throughout the game. But right. I said, I think the moment's too big, and it almost was. He ended up getting the job done. But the one thing I'll say about Patino, even if for whatever reason he went out and blew it or whatever, he put the ball over the plate. My biggest thing with Luis Patino has been, goodness gracious, you have amazing stuff. Believe in it. Just put it in there. It was me with like Craig Kimbrell. Craig Kimbrell throws 100 miles an hour trying to put on the corner. But you can work him in the middle of the plate at 100 miles an hour. Now he's working in the middle of the plate at like 93, and that's his own problem, but that's the Cubs' problem. But they're trying to be too fine with him. I think he wasn't. Look, he's 20, 21 years old. I'm not going to sit here and, oh, my God, I can't believe you weren't great right away. And as I'm sitting here eating my 3rd bag of Cheetos, right? I can't really hop on this guy. But I was very impressed with him. And I wonder if that helps the Padres in a thought of, hey, we can give Patino the ball. Maybe we expect it to be a bullpen day, but maybe it won't be either. Maybe he can give us 5. Maybe he can go 4 or 5. Now, the Dodgers, the team to kind of throw him out there against, maybe not. He's a guy I'm looking at. One other guy that I think has to get a start in this series is Morejon. Yes, I'm sorry. Adrian Morejon yesterday was lights out. The kid's 21 years old. Right. His changeup, he threw like 5 straight changeups and people weren't – I mean, it was Bugs Bunny stuff. You remember the cartoon, right, where you get like 5 chances to swing and he misses all of them? That's what was going on. And then he is a guy that the Padres have said, look, he is going to be a starter. He is not going to be a closer. He is going to be a starter. And he's been kind of the opener, follower, whatever you want to call it. Does he take another step forward? Once again, it's very difficult to take these steps forward as 21, 22-year-olds against arguably the best team in baseball in the playoffs. So they have their work cut out for them, but I feel a lot better now going into this series than I did knowing we went into that Cardinal series going, wait, they're saving Flaherty for game 3 and we're going to have a bullpen day.
Right.
And and hats off to Jack Flaherty too. Right. I can't sit here and knock him. The guy went out and was incredible. And another little nugget I always like to drop, Max Fried, Lucas Giolito, and Jack Flaherty were all on the same high school team. I mean, I faced Cole Hamels in a winter league, and I was no chance. As a lefty facing that kid, no chance. Yeah. But those 3, I mean, how do you win? I mean, ridiculous. All 3 of those guys are aces now, and they were all in the same high school team, Harvard, Westlake. Just another reason why Southern California prep school baseball is pretty much probably D1 college ball these days. But let me just – were you looking at something? I think you might have maybe seen –
go ahead. But you know what? I wanted to touch up on your Morejon thought because, man, what that kid did – and I remember the quote when they signed him out of Cuba. Bulldog. He had this bulldog expression on his face from that first pitch yesterday to I was like, don't pull him, please. Don't pull this guy right now. Save the next arm. He was incredible in a game 3 in a playoff where it's kind of like, you know what? I've dealt with Fidel Castro as a youth. Nothing's going to faze me. And I'm throwing peas. at that plate. You know, Nola, just catch it. You know what I mean?
And one more thing. And first, I do want to confirm this is big news, big confirmation of breaking news. Cam Newton has tested positive for COVID-19. Oh. I don't know what that means for the rest of the team. He is the only name that I've seen. Like I said, I don't know what that's going to mean for football for the Patriots tomorrow. But that's the breaking news that I now can confirm. I don't know if ESPN still has their blue check mark after the atrocious announcing they put the Padres through this weekend. But Austin Nola, 9 different pitchers he dealt with yesterday as a catcher. 9 different ways to, feel out a guy. It's so difficult. He has come in and taken, over for Austin Hedges, who is not exactly loved, definitely not by me. Nope. And he's done an incredible job, not only with the bat, because that was the biggest thing. Austin Hedges just could not swing the bat. And then even Austin Hedges towards the end was struggling with, pass balls and, things like that. The one thing I will say with Nola is his arm. You do want to see a little bit stronger of the arm, but look, if Aaron Nola had an above average arm, he'd probably be the best catcher in baseball, and we wouldn't have got him for Taylor Trammell. So no knock on him or Ty France. Ty France had a wonderful end to their season. And always Aztec forever, baby. But, it's a situation. Yeah, there's going to be a bit of a fault or a fly in that champagne, and they've made it work with Nola. Jason Castro has really not been used at all. Francisco Mejia is pretty much two feet out the door at this point. I mean, sorry, bud, you can't hit as a DH. We have no room for you now.
Right.
absolutely incredible. But do you have any more thoughts on the Padres? I'm just going to roll through the rest of the series just to make sure that we give everyone at least a little bit of due, and I'll just focus all there.
Just a little, but yeah, you know what? I'm really looking forward to this next series, and I really want to see their growth. And, you know, me and you, we've been partners, friends for the last 3-4 years. And I always talk about growth and progression. And I'm looking at this team long-term versus, I'm looking at them right now. I'm excited about what's going on right now, but long-term growth, because I heard the one good thing I heard those ESPN announcers talk about was the talent moving forward, overtaking the division years on end. But that doesn't happen without wins like yesterday or taking positive steps against, let's just put it like this, the favorites to win the World Series, right? Well, statistically, they're the favorite. They're the National League champs as of last two seasons, right? You got to take positive steps. Positive steps, in my estimation, is Game 5 and seeing where you're at, all the chips on the table, you know, against that squad. No trash cans, no buzzers, none of that BS. But you know what? Like, you want growth, and you want to establish something years on end, not only with your fan base in San Diego, but your fan base in Southern California, your fan base nationally, your recognition with the news, and that East Coast biased nationally. Something's got to happen in this series. Win or lose it, there has to be growth for next season. And I'm good with that. I don't want that to happen, of course not, but that final thought is, what's the next positive step? Because I really see 10 years down the road, we lock all these guys up, at least the length of Manny's contract. And before I end it, I want to say, we're not in this situation today without the signing of Eric Hosmer. Sorry, some people may feel differently. Maybe not this year, but in years past. And since his signing, all there has been is progress. So bringing in other guys, actually being mentioned with other guys' names as far as picking them up free agency wise. I see all that as growth in steps. The next step is this next series for the next 10 years of baseball, or through the existence of Manny's contract, leading into getting Tatis, re-signed and wrapped up. But, I'm excited. I'm excited for our season, our series coming up. And then I'm excited about, this isn't the end of baseball in San Diego. As we get into this, you want to start with the AL, or do you want to just stay on?
Yeah. I do just want to add one more thing, because I love that you brought up, Eric Hosmer. What a great addition. We're not here without Eric Hosmer. We're not also here without the offseason of, I think, 2014, 2015, where the Padres just went for it. They went out, they go get Will Myers. They go get, all those guys. And let me explain to you why. Now, Will Myers, we get Will Myers in. Up until this year, he had been a bit of a disappointment. I think we all can agree on that. In that trade, they trade Trey Turner to the Nationals, okay? Obviously, in that same offseason, the Padres signed James Shields. That blew up in their face. They then trade James Shields to where? To get Fernando Tatis Jr. The Padres are not acquiring Fernando Tatis Jr. if Trey Turner is still on this team, period.
Right.
They're just not doing that. Right. So while that trade might have, up until this year, maybe blown up in their face, I always looked at it like that was what we needed to get that kid in here. But I agree. We're not done talking about baseball, and it's October, at least in San Diego, and that's just borderline, Twilight Zone-ish.
And you want to talk Twilight Zone and scary? Can you imagine if Nino was in the south side of Chicago right now?
My goodness.
But let's move on.
Yeah, that would be the greatest, the most fun team ever. that would, gosh, fly on the wall there.
I think I would pull out my 1991 listening to Snoop and Dre, The Chronic Sox hat, the black and white. I'd pull it out. Just because Nino.
Bringing it back.
That squad. Yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah. And somehow, some way, if they could have acquired Franmil Reyes too, that would be it. That would be the end of the world. But moving on to the American League side of things, obviously, still, it's very interesting. 8 series total. Only 2 went the full 3 games. But on the American League side, we have here locally in San Diego, if you can believe that. The New York Yankees and Tampa Bay Rays will be playing their best of 5 division series at Petco Park. I saw a tweet from Barstool, Eric Hubbs, I think big Yankees fan, showed a picture of the hotel the Yankees will be staying at in Carlsbad. Yeah, they're not going to be hating bubble life that much.
Right.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful place to be spending your bubble time is Coronado. So they'll be there. And that's going to be a very interesting series. Obviously, the Yankees are the Yankees. Everyone knows the Yankees. But let's be honest, the Rays, I believe, are a better team. But there's something about this Yankee team. I hate to say it. I watched that. Gosh, I'm so glad I'm not an Indians fan. I will just say that right now. That was an absolutely excruciating game. Unbelievable. That game 2, to lose that way, it was just ridiculous. But to see the Yankees where they are now, I don't know how they keep doing it, but then you see Gleyber Torres make plays like he does. Gio Urshela, I don't even remember. I get Gleyber and Gio mixed up a lot. I think it was Gio who made that great play. But what a run this Yankee team has been on through all their injuries. It seems like every year they have to deal with this, but I really like the Rays. I think the Rays are going to get it done. I think their starting pitching is better. I think they can hit the ball. What about you?
I just hope the return of Manny Margot to Petco isn't a negative thing. I like the kid. I enjoyed his defense here. Unbelievable. And the center fielder they already have, unbelievable. Defensively, I trust them. I just hope Manny Margot isn't haunted by seasons past here in San Diego. That's my main concern, because obviously I'm going for the Rays. They're the 1 seed, but you know what? They're the underdog too, in my mind. So Manny, enjoy your time back. Have a great series against these guys, and go Rays.
Yeah, same with Hunter Renfroe. Hunter Renfroe had a lot of success at Petco, but he was a guy I always admired. Now, when the trade came through, I was very, what is this? Because I thought all we were getting was Angel Pagan, which wasn't terrible, but I looked over the name of Jake Cronenworth in that deal. He is going to be the rookie of the year, and he's the first Padre rookie to go yard in a postseason game. I mean, he is truly a fantastic baseball player. So I think we won that trade, but I will always miss and respect Hunter Renfroe. I absolutely love to see him jack balls out of the yard, and I can't wait to see him hopefully do it against the Yankees. On the other side, it's the rematch of the, really only big fight of the year in baseball with Ramon Laureano. I don't know. I think Alex Cintron's suspension should be up by now, even though I believe he should have been fired on the spot. Right. You're a coach. You cannot instigate things like that. You're held to a higher standard, folks. But Astros don't need a hitting coach. They just need someone to tell them the signs. Right. But, it's going to be the Astros and A's. The A's are a very, very good baseball team. They've dealt with some injury issues, but they're very steady. The one thing I will say, this is at Dodger Stadium. The A's, I'm sure you've seen the A's stadium. There's miles and miles of foul ground at Oakland, and they've built their team around that. And Dodger Stadium, not Coors Field or anything like that, but it's definitely not the big-time foul ground, but it is more of a a pitcher's ballpark. It's going to be very interesting. One other thing, obviously, Astros at Dodger Stadium, that can only mean one thing. Before and after every single game, they will be greeted with Dodger fans banging on trash cans. I can guarantee you that. Who knows? Maybe that fires them up. Carlos Correa is going full heel. If you're a wrestling fan, you know what full heel means. He's just going to embracing the villain. I like it. You know what? Baseball needs a villain. If Carlos Correa wants to be it definitely can't be Jose Altuve. I can't be taller than the villain of baseball. So Carlos Correa being the villain, I love it. But I hope the A's just take care of business and maybe get into a fight along the way. I don't think it'll happen, but see a little.
In regards to the A's, watching this Cardinals game series, I saw a lot of things relative to what the A's do. Strong defense, steady, consistent at bats, and their games against the Padres were all to the limit, until the bats woke up late in those games after that third rotation, seeing that starter and then getting into the bullpen. So, that A's team, very consistent, they know what they have to do. Hopefully the surroundings, the outside surroundings, aren't too much of a distraction for them, having to play in Dodger Stadium, but at least they're in Cali. They're not in Texas. And let's just, honestly, as much as we all despise Houston, let's just hope someone doesn't snap a picture of their bubble. That's because, you know what? That's just kind of unsettling for me. I mean, let the boys play. Yeah. Harass them, egg them on, in transition or walking into the gosh darn stadium. But I mean, I don't want to hear anyone following these guys to their bubble and harassing them. It's LA.
I think it's kind of similar to what happened, this week. You could maybe not like, the president, but hopefully you don't wish death upon him or anybody. There's lines to where, hopefully there are lines, and that's true. You stay right here and bang on the trash can is there and there 100%. That is what it's about. But yeah, you're right. Finding them, putting them in jeopardy. That's not okay. Nothing that's done on the baseball field will warrant that, period. No matter what happens. The other series in the National League is another 3 out of these. Actually, no, all 4 of these series, I just realized, they're all going to be interdivisional, and they're all going to be pretty big rivalry games. I know the Braves Marlins isn't exactly, the showdown it used to be, but don't sleep on the Marlins.
Look at it like this, right? Because both those squads are fairly young. Okay. Yeah, they're interdivision. The Marlins isn't a sexy name like the Braves. But these kids, let's just look at it like this. A lot of these Latin kids on both ends have seen each other probably since childhood, played against each other in the minors, probably in winter ball, whatever, These kids, they're going to go out there and ball. And here's if I'm in Don Mattingly's, locker room, we're not supposed to be here. Why not go out there and just take it to them? Hey, plain and simple. Go out there, be free, got nothing to lose, have fun, like you did in the fields, like you did in the backyard, boys. Go out there and look where they're at. It's next round.
It's unbelievable. And when you see the history of this franchise, they've never won a division title, yet they've won 2 World Series. They've never lost a postseason series. They've only been to the playoffs twice, and they won the World Series both times. Now, I think it would be peak 2020 for them to win it this year. I think it'd be a bit much for them. But the one thing I will say about the Marlins, for their fan base, which is like 15 people, I'm just kidding, but it's a small amount from what I've heard, believe me. Right. I don't think the streets of Miami were going crazy when the Marlins won yesterday, like the streets of San Diego were, but I digress. When you're a fan of that team, you need things like this, because I'm just going to go through right now the players that the Marlins could have on this team right now.
Oh, don't do it.
Giancarlo Stanton. Oh, I'm doing it. I have to do it. We're talking Marlins. You have to do it.
Yeah.
Giancarlo, Marcelo Zuna, Christian Yelich. There's probably others that I can't even think of. I'm just going to move over to the pitching now. Chris Paddock.
I was wondering if you were going to mention him.
Oh yeah, I have to. We gave up Fernando Rodney to get Chris Paddock, all right? Like, I think we've already won that trade, no matter what Chris Paddock does the rest of his career. But we won that trade. But he's part of it. Luis Castillo. Mm-hmm. He is on the Reds right now. And I know that the Padres had a chance to get him as well. It was the whole Colin Ray arm thing situation. It was a very weird thing. Didn't really have a choice. We had to get rid of him or send him away. And one more, and this isn't the Marlins' fault or really anybody's fault. It's just a sad story. They could have, Jose Fernandez, who was arguably looking like he was going to be one of the best pitchers of our generation.
That dude was ice.
And he is perfect for Miami. He is Cubano. It's such a sad story, and that's tough. Obviously, the others were traded away. That last one wasn't, but just the amount of talent. And believe me, that's just off the top of my head. If I dive, you give me 15 minutes, I'll give you a whole lineup, bullpen, and starting rotation, folks. So
next show.
Yeah, exactly. But for the Marlins, like I said, it's great that they're here, because if this is a team that's like, oh, we're rebuilding again, well, shit, we had all the pieces right there,
Right.
And one other thing, last thing I'll say on the Marlins, Sixto Sanchez is the real deal. Finally, they get someone back in these trades. They got him from the Phillies when the Real Muto trade. I always kind of keep an eye on the Phillies because of the Philadelphia side, and I've always heard about Sixto Sanchez. He looked really good yesterday, outdueled Yu Darvish. Congratulations to the Marlins. I hope they can get through, because I think it's a bit of an easier schedule or an easier draw if the Padres get through. But I think if the Padres beat the Dodgers, I mean, I don't think anybody can beat us at that point. Hey, good luck getting me off of my pedestal.
Hey, talk about full swag. Full swag.
100%.
Right? You know what it was? I look back and I remember the tweet that I sent out. I might have been following your tweet when Tatis hit that bomb in Oakland to win it, because they were all really tight. Everything was tight. You could see, these guys could push a freaking diamond out of their ass. All tight. And he hits that bomb. And then I tweeted the response to you, Tanaka from the Cleveland Indians, dropping his balls. Full swag. That's how they're going to have to go out against the Dodgers right now. Full swag, let the balls drop, play, and just do your thing, finish that race, right? Finish that race.
No, well, wrapping it up here, normally on these Saturday shows, I have a couple college football picks for you. Yeah. Full disclosure, it's been a weird week, kind of getting things together, all that stuff. Finally, got these great group of guys to work with, obviously Brandon, and then Ramblin Gamblin Sports. So we are on there. That was figured out. And then the Padres got rolling, and then the Preakness got rolling. I'll be honest, I know there's like 2 games going today. Haven't really looked anything over. I'm not going to do you a disservice for me just coming up here and giving you 2 picks. I haven't done my research. I can't do it. But what I am going to do for you is I'm going to give you a Preakness pick. I really, really like Art Collector today. I highly doubt he'll be the favorite. I think you could get that horse at 3-4 to 1, maybe even 5 to 1. Also, keep an eye on Swiss Skydiver. 6 to 1 was the morning line. The first filly in 6 years to try and run in the Preakness with the boys. This is the best filly in the world, but how will it run against boys? Like I said, speed, I talked about it with Raider Jim, speed will not be a problem. It will be the start. If she gets bumped a couple times in the start, it'll be hard because these horses are just bigger than her, just all there is to it. But if she gets a clean break, she gets some open air in front of her, watch out. That could be an incredible story. Like I said, she's morning line 6-1. Keep an eye on where that goes. I think it's going to drop down. I think the story, a lot of people are going to put money on it just because of the story. But if you can get it north of 5-1, give it a shot. Throw a couple bucks on it. Why not? I'm really, really excited for the Preakness today. Brandon Luipian, final thoughts for this two bees on a pod.
You know, I mentioned the Padre-Dodger series and the process. For you and myself, this podcast, Ramblin Gamblin series, you know, it's a process. And if I could finish with this final thought, these are my final words. We have to enjoy the whole process. And if you can't, you're going to miss something. Legendary coach Steve Fisher, San Diego State basketball. Mr. Ferst, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, you know, it's a wonderful time in San Diego. It's really a good time for sports. Not exactly the cornucopia of sports we had, you know, a month ago, but it's great. It's hard for me to explain to people because I'm not a very emotional person in terms of life. Like people will ask, you know, like even my dad passed, hey, I'm fine. You know, like people expect you to kind of break, you know, and that's fine. You know, I'm not that type of person. But when it comes to sports, man, I feel like that is my escape. That is my ability to be emotional. I'm a big believer in the poker face. I don't want anyone to ever know what I'm thinking or anything like that, unless, like I said, you know, we're watching a sporting event. And when it does come down to, like I said, 22 years, I mean, I was in 5th grade. I was 10 years old the last time this team won a playoff series. And to go through all that, it's special. And while things could change by Tuesday, I want them to win, don't get me wrong, but I don't think anything that happens in this series is going to ruin or leave a bad taste in my mouth for this team. Now, like I said, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when I start to get emotional, that's when, you know, things could possibly change. But I really do believe, and I really think that that's really my favorite part about sports is 28 strangers. I've never met any of those players. And they brought me to tears last night. I'm man enough to admit they brought me to tears. They made me emotional because of everything that's been going, you know, everything that's going on, whether it's, you know, dad passing 22 years or just it's 2020. We need something to fucking smile about. That's what sports does for me. I hope that does it for you, or sports does that for you as well. You know, if it doesn't, that's fine too. Enjoy whatever you can, especially these days. It's a crazy time, folks. Like you said, you know, give someone a call, tell them you love them, check on your friends. But it's a lot of fun to sit here every Saturday and do this podcast. That's the biggest thing, you know, kind of keep us distracted. I am always eternally grateful for Brandon Luipian taking time out of his day to finish up.
Likewise.
So, and you know, it's been a lot of fun. We will be with you every Saturday here with the Ramblin Gamblin Network. Thank you all so much for listening. For Brandon Luipian, my name is Brandon Ferst, aka Ferst Report. This has been Two Bees on a Pod. Now go wash your hands, everybody, and stop hating.
Mask on.
Mask up.